The Irish News, it's difficult to describe what Ethiopian women have been through. From the Irish News, by Allan Preston, December 10, 2025. Trócaire spoke to the Irish News in Ethiopia about efforts to combat ongoing epidemic of gender-based violence and sexual assault against women and girls. For Ethiopian women, the upheaval of war has brought with it a sustained epidemic of gender-based violence, GBV, and sexual assault. During a visit to the Tigray region with Irish aid agency Trócaire, the Irish News received a briefing about the sheer scale of the inhuman cruelty that has taken place. Some of the distressing details caused a stunned silence in the room, but those working to help survivors say the reality of the problem must not be ignored. According to a report from Tigray regional authorities, 60% of over 480,000 women surveyed had suffered at least one form of GBV. Over 150,000 had survived rape, while 12% of the sexual violence survivors were forcefully enslaved by their perpetrators. Among the GBV categories, gang rapes were the most frequently reported, as 70% of survivors were willing to report the number of perpetrators. A significant number of sexual violence survivors, 12%, were subjected to sexual slavery for weeks, and were raped or gang raped on a daily basis. Another common occurrence was for people being forced to witness sexual assaults on their family members. Other details are too graphic to repeat in print, but resulted in severe reproductive health issues for victims and long-term trauma. Another consequence was family breakdown, including rejection and blame from husbands, while the destruction of medical services meant that over 80% of GBV survivors said they had no access to medical and psychological support. While the reality is impossible to fully understand, there is also hope with a program funded by the Irish government and Trócaire to create safe spaces and new economic opportunities for women. It's difficult to express in words what women in Tigray have been through, she said. Because it's not a single experience they've had, and it still continues. Even after the stop of the war, the forms of violence are increasing. They have passed through sexual violence during the war. They lost their children and husbands. They also witnessed dead bodies, they observe mass killings. They're in need of psychosocial support as well as healthy intervention to recover. She said a breakdown of law and order has created a feeling there are no consequences for crimes against women and girls. There is also a new practice and new challenge the women of Tigray have been suffering due to bad learnings during the war, gang rapes, rape by their family members, being killed by family members, she said. Because everybody is not in the right state of mind. So they are just practicing the bad things. What makes it worse is that there is no legal enforcement, but even if people are killed or raped, there is no justice. It's like giving permission for those who are committing crimes. With the support of the Irish government, 16 safe spaces for women and girls have now been established across Tigray. It is a space where it helps them to heal from the trauma they have. There are multiple services like individual counseling, group psychosocial counseling, other healing activities, Siga said. Another major aspect is to help women regain their livelihood, through saving schemes and business support such as keeping chickens, goats, and bees. During the first time they visit us, they are in trauma. Bad things happen to them. Now they start to have a new hope. They are having a new hope to start life again. So for every woman you talk to in the safe spaces, they have their own healing stories. The Irish News was invited to one of the safe spaces in the town of Allan. In one room, a group of women share their experiences with each other as well as trading their skills like knitting. Next door is a creche, allowing mothers the chance to take part in counseling or time to themselves, while a savings group also encourages them to grow their financial independence. One woman, Lujberwet, 35, spoke to the Irish News about how the group has helped her since the death of her son Maham, 15, during the war. Initially I heard about the safe space, I was suffering from the trauma of the war. I was not in a peace of mind, so I decided to come here and heal from the feeling that I had, she said. She said the group has now helped her to feel peaceful inside. While not experiencing GBV herself, she said helping other women through this kind of trauma has helped with her own grief. Siga commented, this helped her to look after the other kids. So this center helped her to heal from that. She also shared that the other women who passed through similar experiences are also coping with new life and hope.
Much for making time for us.
Thank you very much, Natasha.
Evelina, I know it's graphic, but describe to us what is happening to women and girls in the Tigray region of Ethiopia.
Sure. Of course, recent months have seen a lot of evidence coming from the region, shedding light on the dire situation of Tigrayans in Ethiopia. And of course, we've seen evidence of mass killings. We've seen evidence of torture, abductions, and many other atrocities. But of course, this evidence was followed also by evidence of the use of rape and sexual violence against Tigrayan women. And at the end of January 2021, we've seen evidence from the UN Special Representative on sexual violence in conflict, Pramila Patten, reporting on the serious allegations of sexual violence in Tigray, including a high number of alleged rapes in the capital of Mekelle. But subsequently, of course, the more and more evidence emerged. And of course, this brings us to this new report produced by Amnesty International and published only a few days ago that adds to the evidence. It concludes that sexual violence in the context of the conflict has been accompanied by a shocking level of brutality, including beatings, death threats, and ethnic slurs. And it is often accompanied by threats and by additional acts of physical and psychological torture. And as one of the Tigrayan women who testified reported, they raped me one after the other. I don't know if they realized I was pregnant. I don't know if they realized I was a person. Some of the abused women and girls were held in sexual slavery for several weeks. And as Amnesty International concludes, the patterns of sexual violence emerging from survivors indicate that the violations have been a part of a strategy to terrorize, degrade, and humiliate both the victims and the ethnic group. And of course, we already mentioned that of course, there are so many perpetrators involved in the atrocities. And it's very important to emphasize that Amnesty International classified the atrocities as crimes against humanity or war crimes. But we cannot forget that these atrocities can also amount to genocide. There could be genocidal methods to bring about the destruction of the community. So this is yet another element that needs to be.
Absolutely, and forgive me for jumping in, but you did mention this issue of genocide and ethnic cleansing to a certain degree, I believe. So I just want to quote something that the Prime Minister of Ethiopia has mentioned, which is referencing the Tigray people as a cancer and wanting them wiped out. So, as succinctly as you possibly can.
Latest barrage came in an Amharic tweet this week. He characterizes the Tigrayans as weeds. We will work to remove the weed, but while removing the weed, we will try our best not to damage the wheat. Many observers have characterized his comment as dehumanizing. In the same statement, he also called the Tigrayans a cancer and a devil. His opponents accuse Ahmed of committing genocide.
አሁን ያለው ውጊያ ግን ተቀይሯል። አሁን ያለው ውጊያ የትኛው መንደር ወታደር ሲሄድ ምንም ጠላት አያይም፣ ህዝብ ነው የሚያየው። እዛ የገባው ወታደር ቁጥሩ ያነሰ ከሆነ በአህዱ ውስንነት ያነሰ ከሆነ ምንም ጠላት የለም ብሎ አልፎ ሳይጨርስ ከጀርባው በርከት ያሉ ሰዎች ወረውት በክላሽም በገጀራም ይጨፈጨፉታል። ለምሳሌ አንድ መንደር የገጠመን ወታደሩ ሲሄድ ጁንታው ሰው ይገላል፣ ይረሽናል። አልደገፉኝ የሚላቸውን ሰዎች ከቤተሰብ አውጥቶ ህዝብ እያየ ይረሽናል። እየረሸኑን ነው ጥበቃ አታደርጉልንም ብለው ጠየቁ ወታደሩን። ወታደሩ እንደምታውቁት ለምሳሌ 50 ሺህ ወይ 100 ሺህ እንኳን ቢሆን ትግራይ ያለው ወታደር ዝም ብሎ 20 ሺው መቀሌ 20 ሺው አዲግራት ካልተቀመጠ በስተቀር ሁሉን ተራሮች የሚያካልል ከሆነ የግድ 150 200 ካልሆነ በስተቀር አይቻልም። ተበጣጥሶ የሚንቀሳቀሰው እና በዛ መንደር ጠብቁን መተው ይገሉናል ብለው መከላከያን ሲጠይቁ መከላከያ አምነው ተቀበላቸውና የተወሰነ ሰው በቁጥር ከ20 ብዛም የማይበልጡ ሰዎች አስቀምጦ አሰሳውን ቀጠለ። ጠዋት ጠብቁን እንዳትሄዱብን ያሉ ሰዎች ከሰዓት እነዚያን ጥቂት ሰዎች በብዛት ወጥተው ፈጇቸው። ይሄ ጉዳይ ኢንሲደንት ሲሆን ችግር የለውም። አንዳንዱ ተሲያጋጥም ገምግሞ ይስተካከላል። በኋላ ግን እንደ ባህል ስለሆነ በተለይ መቀሌ ላይ
For the past few months, what I really want to talk to you all about is what he said in regards to the reports of rape and sexual violence being used as a weapon of war in the conflict. Here's a short clip from his address in response to a question about these rapes.
ሰብአዊ መብት ጥሰት የሚሰቃዩ ትግራይ ስላለው ችግር የሚሰቃዩ ሰዎች የሰሜን ዕዝ ጥቃት በሚመለከት ምንም አያነሱ። ሰሜን ዕዝ እንኳን ተጠቃም ተዋረደ። ሴቶች እኮ አሁን በወንድ የተደፈሩት የኛ ወታደሮች ግን በሳንጃ ተደፍረዋል።
For those of you who can't speak Amharic, he basically said, while their women might have been raped, our soldiers were stabbed with daggers. Now, in my opinion, this is one of the most disgusting things I've seen a head of state say in my lifetime. I may only be in my early 20s, but Jesus Christ, he basically just equated the mass rape of thousands of women who have nothing to do with the warring parties involved who are actually, fighting this conflict. He compared their rape to the killing of soldiers who sign up to die. I'm sorry, I have respect for all those who decide to go into military service. But as a soldier, you are accepting the real possibility that you will be killed in combat. So to compare this rampant sexual violence against the Tigrayan women, to compare that to killing soldiers who sign up to die in combat is just mind-blowing.
Explain to us, what is this tension between the Amharans and the larger Ethiopian population and the Tigray? Why this battle is taking place?
Of course, this has been an ongoing issue, and unfortunately, as you mentioned correctly, the Tigrayan people are being portrayed as cancer, as something that needs to be destroyed. And unfortunately, this is a narrative that has been used before genocides took place. So this narrative is very concerning, and a number of researchers and people observing the situation raise this as a very important element and something that we should watch and monitor and of course act upon. But just wanted to also mention, of course, we know that the atrocities and the recent conflict started in November last year, but ultimately, even before, we've seen elements and we've seen indicators that something bad is going to happen and mass atrocities are going to happen. And among others, in August 2020, Genocide Watch issued a genocide warning for Ethiopia because of the government's inaction to stop ethnically motivated violence between Oromo, Amhara, Tigrayan, and other communities. And also in October 2020, Simon Scott Center for the Prevention of Genocide warned also about the high risk of further atrocities. So this is an ongoing issue. This is nothing new. So we should be able, we as the international community, we should be able to react, to address these atrocities. However, we've seen inaction, and that's the reason we are in this place right now, seeing those atrocities happening and hearing yet another call towards violence, called to destroy the communities, the Tigrayans in Ethiopia.
You've mentioned the international community, so let me talk to you about that. And it's very odd, speaking to you on a day where the world is talking about Haiti and that tragic earthquake that's taken place that's probably stolen many, many lives, and the horrifying situation we're seeing unfold in Afghanistan. Nobody, aside from us right now, is talking about what's happening in Ethiopia. Why? Why is the world not paying attention to Ethiopia?
Unfortunately, this is something that we observed in relation to a number of African countries where mass atrocities are happening today. Another example is Nigeria. And again, atrocities are happening on a regular basis. Killings are happening on a daily basis. Unfortunately, there is no enough attention on those countries. So we need to bring those important stories to the surface. And you've been reporting on those important topics on a regular basis. And of course, everyone working on the topic is very grateful. But unfortunately, not many reporters are engaged on those topics. So we need more attention. We need more journalists reporting on those important topics, shedding light on what is happening in countries such as Ethiopia, to the people as people of Tigray, but also in Nigeria and other countries. We cannot forget about those situations.
I want to return to the situation about the women, which was our entry point into this conversation. Is any sort of support or aid or any relief coming to them if women's bodies are being used as part of the battleground to engage in this war?
Yes, there is some assistance that is being provided to the women and also to the people in Tigray, but unfortunately, as we know, humanitarian access to Tigray is very much limited and blocked on a number of occasions. And also, because of the internet shutdowns that occur in the region, we also don't necessarily have the first-hand information on a regular basis to know what is happening in the region and how the situation is deteriorating. And the UN promised to do an investigation in the region. We've seen also a number of countries sending individuals to assess the situation, to the severity of the situation. However, this is not enough. We need more assistance to the communities there, and especially women and girls who are subjected to rape and sexual violence. They will need a lot of assistance that goes beyond just food and nutrition. They will need assistance to deal with the physical and mental consequences of this rape and sexual violence that they were subjected to.
Evelina, thank you so much for covering this difficult topic for us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Natasha.
ትግርኛ ተናጋሪ የሆኑትን አባላት
አዲስ አበባ ከተማ ላይ የቲፒኤልኤፍ ሰዎች አሉ። የቲፒኤልኤፍ ሰዎች ስለ የቲፒኤልኤፍ አባል አይደለም። የቲፒኤልኤፍ ነፍሰ ገዳዮች ሊኖሩ ይችላሉ። የቲፒኤልኤፍ ሰዎች በተለያየ መንገድ በአደባባይ ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ ያለውን ነገር ከህወሓት ጋር አቋማቸውን አስማምተው በዚያም ሁከት ለመፍጠር የሚፈልጉ ሰዎች እንዳሉ በግልጽ ይታወቃል። እነዚህ ሰዎች ማስረጃ ባይገኝባቸው እንኳን ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ እየደማን እየሞትን መቀጠል የለብንም። ስለዚህ በመንግስት በኩል እነዚህ ሰዎች ወይ ካምፕ ውስጥ ይሁን ወይ ማጎሪያ ውስጥ ይሁን ማስቀመጥም አለበት ብዬ ነው። መንግስት በዚህ ጉዳይ ላይ ቆራጥ እርምጃ መውሰድ አለበት ብዬ ነው።